So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in color, it's Mr. Wayne Love Juice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we've decided we can text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the Track Extra. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortune Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. As regular viewers will know, every Wednesday afternoon, or evening I suppose, at 6:30, and every Saturday afternoon at 3, we bring you a miscellany of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What's surreality, you want to know? Well, don't ask me, I only live here. Miss Maxine, who is, as I'm sure regular viewers will know, somebody who's very dear to me, spends a lot of her time sending me stories that she thinks might be useful for On the Track. And so this time around, this episode of On the Track Extra, I'm doing a brief roundup of some of the most recent stories. By the way, if you hear weird noises in the background, it is because my stupid dog is trying to do holes in the carpet. I'm not sure why, and in fact I doubt whether he knows either. The first story is not about my stupid dog. It's about an Australian fisherman called Arnold Pointer, who, a couple of years back, rescued a female great white shark that was caught in fishing nets and released her. And since, apparently, the shark and he have developed a very fond relationship. The news story says she has a problem today. She follows Arnold everywhere. And it's hard to get rid of a 17-foot shark when great white sharks are a protected species, but Arnold and Cindy have developed a mutual affection. Arnold says, "When I stop the boat, she comes to me, turns on one side and lets me pet her. She grunts, squints and flaps her fins happily." Well, apparently that story's been doing the rounds since at least 2008, and it is, sadly, a hoax. It first appeared in a French fishing magazine as an April Fool's story. And the interesting thing here is that the French version of April Fool's is Le Poisson d'Avril, the French for the April fish. And so, with a great white shark being quite possibly the most iconic fish in the ocean, the idea of it being co-opted into a April Fool's Day story really made quite a lot of sense. The whole story was fact-checked by Reuters, and I pinched it off the Reuters website. However, thank you very much, Maxine, for sending it in, and also thank you very much for sending this next story in, which is also about a great white shark. By the way, those of you who are interested in the ongoing theories that great white sharks do sometimes stray into British waters will be interested to know that the piece of footage that I used earlier is allegedly, at least, of a great white shark filmed off the coast of Cornwall. But now we're going to South Africa, and this is a story from 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I can't even add up, I still count on my fingers. 6 years ago, when a series of great white sharks were found dead and mutilated on South African shorelines. This is a photograph of the fourth of these unfortunate fish. The carcass is being examined by a great white shark biologist called Alison Towner. It appears that despite the claims that the livers and in 2 cases the hearts had been removed with surgical precision, something which always pushes all the buttons to suggest that there was either alien or some sort of psychopathic human involvement. It is alleged that the most likely culprits for killing these sharks were orcas, and this was decided not just because of the details of the wounds on the dead sharks, but also because orcas had been seen quite regularly at the time of the killings patrolling the areas, and after the orcas had been there for very short periods of time, the great white sharks decided to vamoose and go away to other places. And now, sticking with stories that Miss Maxine sent through, but leaving great white sharks for the time being, Maxine also sent me a series of really interesting photographs of colour variants of various cat species. Now, 10 years or so ago, I very much enjoyed working with Dr. Carl Schuker on his book about various strange cats, which included an awful lot about different colour variants of big cats. And, amongst others, it included species like this, but I'd never seen these particular specimens before. So first of all, here is a melanistic or black tiger from somewhere in India. It appears that the photographs were taken early last year, and the article which accompanies them claims that the jungles of Odisha are the only place left which hold melanistic tigers, and that there are less than 10 left alive in the world. I don't know how true this is, but it's certainly a remarkably magnificent creature. But now, to the other side of the world, to the jungles of Brazil, where this photograph of a leucistic partial albino puma was taken back in 2013. Sadly, it was the only time that this magnificent creature ever turned up on any of the forestry wardens' trail cameras. So unfortunately, it could well be extrapolated from this that the poor creature came to a sticky end. But this and the other 2 or 3 pictures which were taken are magnificently important because colour variants of pumas are very rare indeed. As far as melanistic pumas are concerned, there have only been, as far as I'm aware, 3 claimed, and some of those are somewhat doubtful. However, black pumas have been reported all across the United Kingdom, parts of Europe and North America, even though a specimen has never been secured by a reputable scientist. Back when I was in Illinois, back 19 years ago now, I was investigating some of the stories of black pumas, and I came across many people who claimed to have seen them, some people who even claimed to have seen specimens that had been shot. And the mother of my friend Jessica told me that when she was a girl, she had seen a skin of one of these black pumas nailed up onto the door of a barn on her parents' farm. but nobody has ever managed to secure a specimen or even a hair sample that can be examined by a reputable scientist. This, I think, is the first time that a partial albino or leucistic puma has ever been recorded. If I'm wrong here, please let me know, and I will issue an apology to everybody in pumadom. But the fact is that it does prove that colour variants are more possible than it had been originally thought within this species. And it may, and this is with a very, very, very big proviso, that it's may, not definitely, it may be supportive evidence that there are colour variants of the puma concolor, found in some of the places where they have been reported. And if I was going to put money on it, and I'm not a betting man, gambling is about the only vice I've never had. I just don't see the appeal of it. But if I was a betting man, I would say that the best place to go looking for these creatures would be in the southern half of Illinois, possibly in the Shawnee National Forest. And one of these days the CFZ are going to go back, and we're damn well going to do our best to find them. And finally we go from a creature of serious cryptozoological importance to a creature that, as far as I'm aware, has no cryptozoological importance whatsoever. But cop a load of this. Isn't it absolutely magnificent? Here we have a melanistic flamingo. There is, I'm sure, a John Waters pink flamingo type joke here somewhere, but it's been a long, hard day, and I'm really not up to coming up with visual puns about strange cult movies that most normal people and most right-thinking people probably find to be totally revolting. It is one of my favourite films, but it's not one that I believe most people would watch without having their stomach turning. But there's nothing stomach turning about this magnificent black flamingo, which was photographed about a year ago in a nature reserve in Cyprus. The thing that I find interesting is, if you look, the pink flamingos, and here I go again, stop it, Jonathan. The pink flamingos which surround it are totally ignoring it. They don't seem fazed by the fact that one of their number does not bear the signature pink. And although the wardens of the nature reserve have said that one of the things that worries them is that being black will make it difficult for the flamingo to be able to find a mate, apparently it still looks to me as if the strange black bird is living a perfectly normal flamingo-esque type lifestyle, and it's been completely ignored by any of its fellows, which is rather nice, because you hear so many horrible stories about birds, especially in social species, birds of unusual colouring being bullied, harried and pecked to death by their fellows, and it doesn't seem to be happening here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and here we are at the end of another episode. Lilith and I hope that you'll be joining us on Saturday, when we're going to be talking about walruses, and we're going to be singing a very xenophobic song about how great the British are because we do nice things to walruses rather than having them shot like happened in another country which began with N about 4 months ago. However, we're also going to be talking to another old friend of mine, Steve Andrews, and if you don't remember him, he's the guy with the green beard, and I'm sure you now do remember him, who will be talking about the effects of climate change on the way that butterflies behave. So we've got a really exciting show for you. What's happening next Wednesday? I've got no idea. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. I want to say a big thank you to Miss Maxine for sending these stories through to me. And I hope that next Wednesday, or before that on Saturday, I'll be seeing you.